Dead as a Doornail, Book 6 of the Stan Kraychik Mysteries. Author, Grant Michaels. Publisher, St. Martin's Press, New York. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 8. The storefront that abuts Myron's shop is a realtor's office. The sign on the door says, Gateway to Paradise. And the place proclaims itself your first-class passage to the South End. I've seen that name twice before, and when I look in the window, I see a familiar woman seated behind a desk. The dyed black hair, too big for the city, marks her as the same person who was arguing at XUXUX a short while ago. The same person who almost ran me down on Newberry Street this morning, and the same person who was lingering in front of my property. Now, finally in the light of day, unfettered by chinchilla or automobile, she is clearly visible, and I see that she possesses what is popularly called beauty. She's got pretty eyes, a pretty nose, a pretty smile, and pretty lips. There's even pretty shoulders, pretty breasts, pretty arms, and pretty hands. Everything about the woman is pretty and picture perfect, except for that hair. That's the singular flaw. There's just too much dyed black hair, even for a Barbie doll. She's got her pretty arms wrapped around a lizard skin tote bag that's bulging with papers and manila folders. She's fairly hugging it to her pretty chest. I wonder what's so valuable about the contents of that bag. Or maybe it's the bag itself. Myron would know if it's an authentic Barbie accessory. Of course, I go in. I've got to. This pretty woman almost killed me this morning, and she's going to hear about it. And just as I'm opening the door, a tall, handsome black man as stylized as an Urti Nubian is coming down to the place. His face is like carved ebony, with planes and angles that glow satiny smooth in the sunlight. He knows he looks good, and he's utterly poised until he sees me. And then his eyes light up and they look directly into mine, or at his own fabulous reflection in my mirrored shades. We both smile and nod, and in doing so create one of those rare moments when two people express an honest attraction to each other before their defenses can kick in and spoil it. It's harmless enough, like a mutual vote. I like you. You like me. Matter closed. I enter the realty office where the fox raven-haired woman is now on the telephone. She motions me to come in and close the door as she trips away into the receiver. Even her voice is pretty. I turn and look back out the window to see the dark-skinned dreamboat across the street. When he gets to the other side, he turns to look back at me. I remove my sunglasses. He smiles. Then he goes into the store called Domestic Tech. I'll be sure to drop in there after my chat with Miss Black-Haired Barbie from a bottle. Hell, I'm single, rich, and lonely, and when a guy looks at me with interest, I might as well find out what kind of interest it is. Maybe voting isn't so harmless. Meanwhile, Beauty's conversation consists of phrases like, I'm doing it as we speak, and don't worry, that's my job. And yes, no problem. I'm ready to hire her based on enthusiasm alone, although that might be all you get with her. A polished hunk of solid brass sits on top of her desk, engraved with her name, Selina Hightower. She finally hangs up the phone, and when she looks at me, I see a flash of recognition in her pretty eyes, which she quickly tries to cover with her exuberant, pretty voice. Great day for house hunting. Are you buying or selling? I'm about to berate her for almost killing me earlier, but it occurs to me that she might know something about Tim Chignassi, especially since she knows Angie, the hairdresser, who claims to have been Tim's friend. If I confront this pretty woman with her deadly driving, she'll become defensive, and that will get me nowhere on the Tim Chignassi front. So, as the microseconds tick by, I figure she sells property, and I own property. In her game, I'm holding a strong hand, so I'll play it for all it's worth. Actually, I say, I'm shopping for a realtor. Then you came to the right place, says Selina Hightower. I'm at your service. Now, are you buying or selling? Probably selling, at least for starters. Selena looks at me uncertainly, but she does it in a pretty way. I say, I want to make sure I find the right person before I commit to anything. Selena says, we always try to match the property with the best possible person, and I want the best possible realtor. I understand, says Selena, and I assure you that I adhere to the highest ethical and performance standards. I'm sure you do, I say, except for your driving doll. But with all the competition, I'm concerned about being pestered by people who will want to represent me. Is your property desirable? It could be. What is it? She says. Here, in the South End. Single or multiple unit? That's not certain yet, I say. Her pretty eyes look at me oddly. Is it a condo or single family? It's a building, I say, a whole building. Really? She says. If eyes could drool, her pretty eyes would. But it's still under development, I say. And then why do you want to sell it? I'm not sure I want to be a developer. Up till now, I always rented, and this is my first house, and I think I might want to unload it before I'm in too deep. Selena smiles the way a cat does before it pounces on a mouse. How deep are you in now? About hip level, so there's still time to bail out. Selena laughs, but her pretty eyes don't think it's funny. They're seeing a smorgasbord of profitable possibilities. So why is she laughing? Is this how she establishes rapport with a potential client? By acting fizzy and friendly and funny no matter what the other person is saying to her? And so whose angry voice did I hear coming through the wall a few minutes ago? I glance out the window and across the street for signs of the Nubian who left here as I was entering. Selena's laugh quiets down, and I turn back to her, and again I see that flash of recognition in her eyes. Have we met before? She says. I tell her I saw her about an hour ago. You were coming out of XUX? That hair salon down on Chamotte Avenue? Maybe saw me. Maybe, says Selena. She's trying desperately to stay light and breezy in spite of the slush piles outside and the humongous nest growing out of her head. I ask her, are you a customer there? Oh, no, she says with a laugh. I just went in to buy some shampoo. Is that a crime? She smiles expectantly as though she's set me up for a punchline. Depends, I say. On your hair and the product Angie told you. Who? Says Selena. The girl who runs the salon. What'd she tell you? My usual, says Selena. How can you have a usual if you're not a regular customer? I don't get my hair done there, but I buy shampoo all the time. So tell me more about your property. Actually, I'd like to talk about Angie. Angie? She says as though the question mark proves she doesn't know her. It looked as though you were arguing with her. Arguing? That's right, I say. Apparently you hired someone to follow a friend of hers. The poor kid was really upset about it. I did no such thing, says Selena. For a moment she loses the pretty petunia of a South End realtor. Her eyes flicker nervously. Look, she says, I don't understand. Are you here to sell property, or are you one of those lonely people who roams around and bothers the ones who are trying to work? I guess I'm waiting for an apology. For what? Says Selena. For almost killing me this morning. Killing you? She says with a pretty little laugh. Her marketplace luster is back. What are you talking about? You almost hit me this morning on Newberry Street. When? You were turning off Arlington Street at the Ritz, and you almost ran me down. You were gabbing on the car phone. I'm sure you're mistaken, she says. It was a big black Mercedes-Benz with a Gateway to Paradise sign in the rear window. Oh, she says, I was down there this morning. I guess I didn't see you. Did you get wet? No, doll. Almost dead. Is that why you're here now? She says. To accuse me of something I don't even remember? I'm not accusing you, just informing. Well, I am informed, and thank you. As for your property, that was obviously a smoke screen to get you in here. Not really, I say. I do own property. Well, good for you, she says. Sorry I can't help you with it, but I'm busy enough without taking on temperamental clients. Now, if you don't mind, I've got work to do. Then an odd thing happens. Selena Hightower twists around and unlatches something from the back of her chair. From out of nowhere, two long rods of flexible high-tensile steel spring up behind her chair. The rods twang slightly in the air with their many foot-pounds of potential energy. Attached to each steel rod is a stirrup. Selena stands up and grasps one in each hand. Then she sits down again and begins pulling at the stirrups in various directions. Flexing the steel rods like archery bows, she breathes, pauses, counts, and releases, repeating the exercises with military precision. The springy metal springs softly under the tension of being pulled. Its quiet twanging belies the impending catastrophe if the stirrups should slip out of Selena's pretty hands and release the deadly force of those springs in my direction. I've already seen how this woman operates machinery, and I move away from the contraption. "Sorry to cut you off," she says, "but I've got to get a workout in every day, and since I don't have time to run to the gym like most people, I have to do it wherever I can." Has she got one of those things built into that big black Benz, too? She sits there counting and breathing, yanking at those powerful steel springs and flashing her pretty eyes at me. I say, "Do you know Tim Shignasi?" "Who?" she says with a pretty, if forced, smile. "A young guy, a local, runs a small construction business." "What?" she says, huffing and holding out, counting. Then her face freezes in that smile, like her pretty lips are stuck to her pretty teeth. The portrait stays that way a few seconds, then her pretty face goes red and the heat goes up. The ice melts a little and she can talk again. "Sorry," she says. "Never heard of him." "Really? I mean, here you are in the South End, the keeper of the keys, that is, if your sign is true, and you don't know a local contractor?" Selena's smile is even brighter now, and the springs on her workout contraption are warmed up too, just about ready for a big refrain. She says, "I can't be expected to know everybody." Once again, I glance out the window for a sign of the man who went into the store across the street. Selena says, "Is something happening out there?" "Not yet," I say. I decide it's time to go. She's too distracted, and so am I, for that matter. "Thanks for your time," I say. "Wait a minute," says Selena. "Do you mean Timmy?" I turn back. She says, "I feel so stupid." She's laughing briefly now, showing all her pretty teeth. "I've always called him Timmy, never Tim." Timmy," I say, and laugh along with her, although my teeth aren't quite so pretty. "So you do know him?" I say. "Of course I do. I manage the property where Tim lives." You mean Timmy?" "Right," says Selena with a pretty giggle. "Timmy. So you're his landlord." She scowls, not so pretty. "Property manager," she says. "You collect his rent, right?" Selena nods. I say, "I think that's called a landlord, doll." "Not in the South End," she says. "And pardon me for asking, but who are you anyway? You never told me your name or why you're really here. It obviously has nothing to do with property." "Actually, it may have everything to do with property. But you come barging in here off the street and ask me a lot of personal questions, and now you want to know about Timmy, and frankly, I'm not sure exactly what game you're playing." I use her tactics, a big smile and an offhand manner. "I'm exercising the good neighbor policy. You know, when someone is killed in your neighborhood, you kind of hope the neighbors will help you find out who and why." "Killed?" says Selena. "Who was killed?" "Tim was. Timmy, to you. Someone killed him earlier today." For that news, Selena offers no smile, frozen or otherwise. "Now," I say, "do you want to tell me why you were arguing with Angie this morning?" "What does that have to do with it?" "Tim and Angie were friends." Selena Schwarzenegger takes a hydration break and guzzles water from a plastic bottle, like a baby feeding. Again, not too pretty. Once she slacked her massive thirst, her kind of hair needs a lot of water. She says, "I don't know anything about that. I already told you. I was just buying shampoo." Sounds reasonable, but that can be verified. Verified? As Tim Shignasi's landlord, his property manager, you have a regular connection to him, and so the police will want to talk to you. Why? You might know someone with a motive to kill Tim. I absent-mindedly glance across the street again, then realize that I'm doing exactly what Myron did earlier. allowing myself to be distracted by South End street life. How can I possibly have anything in common with that little troll? Nicole's right. I have been alone too long. Selena's voice brings me back. I'm sure he'll be there waiting for you. What? I say. The man you met coming out of my office just now. Isn't that who you're looking for across the street? No, not at all, I say, too chagrined to fix her grammar. Selena has caught me cruising, and she knows it, and she's not at all pretty now, inside or out. How do you know it was Timmy? She says. People are talking, I say. Why tell her I found him? I didn't hear anything. Maybe you're too cloistered in that car of yours. She says, exactly. What is your concern and connection to Timmy? I tell her, I'm one of his customers. He's your contractor, she says. Yes, I say. So you really do own property? Yes. Selena's cotton candy brain churns a bit, and then she says, do you own that house? Which house? The corner lot at 101 Woltham Street? Is that yours? She says. How do you know about that? Selena says, it's my business to know about every piece of property in this neighborhood. You probably know a lot more. She says, I do know that property was sold recently, but I couldn't find out who got it. That's what alerted me that something was wrong. There was something irregular about the title transfer, and for the life of me, I couldn't find out who got hold of it. What do you mean, irregular? Last I heard, she says there was an old lien on that place. Next thing I know, someone new owns it. Now I find out that someone is you, so you're Stan Kraychik. You know my name too? Of course, she says. Tell me exactly how did you get that place? There was an auction. An auction, she says. I spelled the word for her. She says, I wasn't notified of any auction. I'm telling you, you spend too much time in that car. Look, you, she says. I handle almost every piece of real estate in the South End. At least anything worth bothering with, and I never heard about any auction for that place. And I never heard about anything irregular, doll, so I guess we're even. Selena's other side, the demon Burby, says, I'm going to look into this little one-man auction of yours, and you, for all your smart talk, could be in very serious trouble. I'm not in any trouble. You're the one with the suspicious behavior. Selena says, was it that old clerk down at the housing office who helped you? I always thought he was a bit Nancy. Nancy, I say. What air are you talking from? But Selena has struck a chord in me. For an old guy down at the Citizens Housing Office did seem awfully friendly. Maybe a bit too generous with his time and attention. I hope he didn't bend the rules to help me get the property. Everyone warned me it would be a big problem, but it all went through without a hitch. Until now. Selena says, you boys stick together, don't you? Loyal to the end. Except on P-Town weekends, I say. Those wreak havoc on the bridal registries. I'm looking into this, says Selena, and I mean seriously. I don't appreciate it when people acquire property through favors. That's not why I'm in business. It's bad enough when people buy and sell property without an agent, but this deal of yours sounds downright illegal. You may find yourself minus a house very shortly, and your old boyfriend downtown may be looking for a job. Now, if you don't mind, I've spent too much time with you, and frankly, since you're not buying or selling anything, you have no business in here. Then she grabs the stirrups on her exercise machine and starts yanking at them rhythmically. Better to burn up that anger here in her office than behind the wheel of her car. I take one of her business cards and wink at her, just in case I ever do want to sell the place. As I head for the door, I hear a dog barking happily through the wall. It must be Betty, I say. You met her, says Selena. Him, I say. Betty's a him. And what does that make Myron, says Selena. Then she resumes the precise rhythm of contracting, holding and releasing her pretty upper limbs with religious fervor, right there in full view on Tremont Street. Does she get a kickback from the company for using the machine in public? More importantly, would you buy a house from this woman? I leave her office and cross the street to discover if the Nubian vote was real or straw.
Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.